Rev up your engines!
Well, here we go again with our government money being wasted by the Biden administration. Stellantis and Samsung are going to get $7 billion to build battery factories in the United States. Why is our tax dollar going? Of course, they're doing it now to try to whip it through before the Trump administration comes in. They're supposed they're going to be making them in Indiana. They're getting our taxpayer dollars. It makes no sense. And this almost $7 billion is to help build battery factories in Indiana. Stellantis, their CEO just quit. The company's falling apart, right? And we're loaning our taxpayer dollars to these clowns. And they said it's going to create jobs. Somebody went and figured out that it was costing almost $1 million a job for the money the government's giving them, right? It's just absurd. To a company that's failing to continue to throw it out because that's their belief, right? Well, I believe something different. I believe that Americans don't want electric cars. They don't like them. They've been proving it with their pocketbook. They're not buying the stupid things. Oh, there's $7 billion here. Build some battery factories there for electric cars that no one's going to buy. Then they'll shut the factories down, then the money will go down the toilet. It reminded me during the Obama administration outside of Clarksville, Tennessee, they had put like $2 billion into this area to try to entice the Chinese to come. But the Chinese went someplace else, and so this giant area was just buildings that were never used except for one that Google rented the end one because it had a bunch of cooling towers so they could use it for their servers, for the computer servers. It put out a lot of heat. That's the only one that's working. The rest, if you drive through the area, they put a giant berm up. And then if you climb up the berm, you can see all these cement pads of all that's left of the buildings that they built that were torn down, that the pads are still there, right? That's our government $2 billion peed down the toilet, right? If you ask me, it's just another government boondoggle, this time in Indiana instead of Tennessee, where government money is going to private enterprise that might not even come to effect. They might not ever build a battery there. These are factories that they're going to build with Stellantis, who's an extremely messed up company. On top of it all, Stellantis is a European company. What the heck are we giving them money for? It doesn't make any sense. Well, it looks like GM is even trying to fleece Detroit. According to an article by Eric Starkman, who was a Detroit news reporter, he says Mary Barrow's insatiable greed to fleece Michigan taxpayers. Now, they're supposedly building hotels and stuff, and they're supposed to be getting $250 million from Michigan's taxpayers to help build this stuff, right? Now, GM says they're going to contribute $250 million themselves. Who knows if it'll ever happen? Oh, Mary's saying if the Michigan taxpayers don't cough up their $250 million, they will huff and puff and tear down all 5 of the Renaissance Center's landmark towers. They built these towers, and I said, we'll tear them down then. They are all disgusting people as far as I'm concerned. They're taking tax. Why does taxpayer money have to go to these people doing things? Hey, it's private business. Let them do it themselves. If there's an office building, let them build it and rent it out. That's their job. The government shouldn't be in the job of ponying out money to these clowns. And for GM, of course, their $250 million is a spit in a bucket. Because get this, since late last year, GM has earmarked $16.5 billion to buy back their own stock. Now, that is a con that companies do for ages. They buy back their own stock, and then the value of the stock goes up because there's less open stock out there, so it doesn't dilute the value of the stock, so the value of the stock goes up. Yeah, that stuff used to be illegal. It's legal now. Yeah, the scumbags at Wall Street, they'll do anything for a buck, right? These are the people that helped bring you the prime swap derivatives that led to that gigantic worldwide recession with some scumbaggery financial nonsense that they were pulling. And here's the hilarious thing. They're getting taxpayer money from the people of Michigan, right? But get this. Last year, GM paid a measly 4.1% tax rate on its profits, according to Americans for Tax Fairness. The statutory corporate rate is 21%, but they only paid 4.1%. Well, they got all these tax breaks, right? Total nonsense. These greedy corporations. Hey, you know what I say? Just let them fail. They make crappy products. Anyways, GM's been making junk for years. Too bad. Somebody else will take their place. That's how it always goes. Just like everybody starts whining about, oh, Uber and Lyft, they're charging more. Oh, and the drivers don't like it. They make enough money. Guess what? There's a bunch of other companies right behind them just waiting to come in. There are many people out there that have another idea to take over. When one system starts to fail, another person will come up with a better system. And hey, if these guys can't cut the mustard, why are we giving our taxpayer money to these people? We bailed out GM before, and the government actually lost a bunch of money on that. They said, oh, they paid it all back. No, they didn't. If you look at the actual money they borrowed versus what the stock sold for, they lost money. We, taxpayers, lost money, but they have the balls to say, we paid it all back. No, they didn't. They paid back certain fiduciary things, right? It's always couched with legalese, but they borrowed a lot more money than they ever paid back. Well, here's more on GM crappy quality. Now thousands of new GM and Chevy pickups are added to the recall for tailgates that can just open and everything flies out. So don't tailgate a Chevy truck. The tailgate might just fall down. If you're tailgating them, their tailgate might fall down and stuff might fall and hit you. They're now adding more than 132,000 heavy-duty pickups in the United States to the recall that they've already called. Now they're realizing, oh, gee, we put these crappy systems in a whole bunch of our vehicles. I guess we'll have to recall more of them. This recall adds certain 2024 Silverados and GMC Sierra 25 and 3500 trucks. And that's added to the February recall of 322,000. These are even more. Another 132,000 of them. Turns out that they have switches on them, and the switches, water intrudes in them, and then the stupid things pop open. Great, you drive down the road, the gate opens. Whoop, this is why. Too much technology, right? When I was a kid, you know what they had? They had locks and latches. You put it here, click, and that's it. And then to open it, you had to pull the handle in the middle, clunk, and you open it up. Very simple. They worked forever, basically. Well, actually, the GMs didn't, but it wasn't that they fell open. It was that then you couldn't open them because the latches were so cheaply made in the later model ones before they went to the electronic crap that they'd break. You'd have to take them apart and replace them all the time too. But at least it didn't fly open. It didn't open at all, but at least it didn't fly open. Now with all this electronic control crap, they fly open on their own. And now they're adding these to the 300-something thousand that they recalled in February. Now it's December, they're recalling even more. Their quality is garbage. Anybody who looks at the stuff can see. And if you don't want to get in trouble dealing with nonsense like this, don't buy a GM product in the first place. Then you won't have any problems. Well, here we have more great Cybertruck news. A Cybertruck owner in Canada, I believe he owned the truck for 2 hours, and he turned on the defroster and the vehicle died. Then he spent 4 hours trying to get it going, but he couldn't. As the man said, I'm in love to heartbroken on the same day. He was all excited. He got his new Cybertruck, and in Canada, it's like 165,000 Canadian dollars. A lot of money for a stupid Cybertruck, right? 2 hours it lasted, turned on the defroster, and the car died. Now, understand, the complexity in those things is insane. They don't have a gasoline engine that puts out heat, so they use what are called heat pumps to create heat in the car, which of course are electrically activated. And when he turned it on, vehicle died and it wouldn't go anywhere. It just shows you, one, the level of complexity is way too much, but two, the level of quality of build is garbage too. And everybody's wondering, how will these things perform in the cold? Well, guess what? What's going to happen when it really gets cold in Canada with these things? It's not that cold yet. It gets a heck of a lot colder. Sometimes it's 40 below. How are these electric monstrosities going to work when you turn the heat on? How long will they go? Probably not all that far, right? But yet another flaw in the Cybertruck that nobody seems to want to buy now. Well, they had like 1 million something reservations, but only like less than 2% of the people even bought them. They stopped the reservations now because they realized, what's the point? We can't sell the ones we have. Well, of course, everybody knows the Cybertrucks have all kinds of problems. Well, here's a new one that they obviously didn't think about when they built them. If you ever saw one, I tried one out, so they got these little headlights, right? Well, guess what? If you look, you see there's a ridge under the little headlights. And guess what happens when it snows and ices? It covers up the ridge, and then the headlights don't work. Duh! Did anybody think of that one? The ridge, especially if it's warmer than colder and warmer than colder, ice builds up and you can't even get it off because it's iced onto the little ridge that's below the lights, and then it fills them up. I mean, look at it. It's ridiculous. Joe Fay, who owns one of these Cybertrucks, says, otherwise I have amazing and extremely bright headlights, but they can become completely blocked by ice and snow. Brilliant idea, right? Hey, at least back in the day, some of the Mercedes had wiper blades that would wipe over the headlights and stuff got on it. Because, of course, if you're in your Mercedes, you can't stop and wipe the headlights. You can have it go while you're driving down the road. Or have your chauffeur flip the switch to make it wipe the dirt off the headlights. One guy says, the lights get clogged with snowfall, then the bits of melt freeze and create an ice wall blocking the lights. They can't be removed without a hammer. My scraper couldn't do it. Brilliant, another brilliant design, right? When I looked at them, I said, these squinty little headlights. One, yeah, when they're working, fine. They're bright. Actually, they're kind of too bright. They blind people. They get covered with ice and snow, and they don't work because they got a ridge under them. And these things are designed by an idiot to make them look cool, but not function. It's all form over function. It's what it looks like, not what it actually does. And in this case, the light doesn't come through because snow and ice blocks it. So yet another flaw in the Cybertruck design. Function was an afterthought with these things. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.